Chapter 19. Return to the village. We were joined by Raguru and the others at the entrance of the forest. A total of 5 days were spent on the journey. But it's still within my estimate. Although we met many problems along the way, the main purpose of the journey was achieved. On that note, I didn't see an adventurers guild in that city. Shame, I wanted to take a look at the Freedom Association. Wanted to see if any of their members are world travelers, but I doubt there are. Also, the incident in the Dwarf Kingdom has sadly prevented me from further research on handiwork and armor. Well, it can't be helped. But I was satisfied with my new comrades. And we earned 20 gold coins. Really struck gold right there, literally. I introduced Kajin's group to Raguru and the rest, and they exchanged greetings. Since they'll be working together from now on, I want them to get along. Come to think of it, the dwarfs seem less prone to discrimination. Perhaps it has to do with the fact that they are, themselves, a half-magical race. Well, there was a problem in the beginning of our return to the village. Ranga was waving his tail happily around me. However, when I told him to carry 2 of the 3 brothers, his joyful expression quickly turned sour, and he took a step back. Then, while staring at the duo, he added, "Will it be worse off if those 2 idiots get left behind?" With a look full of intent to swallow them whole. Which, of course, terrified the dwarfs. To begin with, when they first saw Ranga, gee. What? That's how surprised they were. Was that the start of one of their performances? I don't really get it, but maybe there is something amusing about it. Wah. Wait, Ranga. I'm just planning to mimic the black wolf to check its abilities. That's why I want to leave the 2 dwarves to you. Hearing my words, he stood upright, as if at attention, and acknowledged, "My lord." And he thus consented. Kajin and the eldest brother Garm will get on my back. The middle brother Dold and the youngest Mildo are on Ranga's. To ensure their safety, I tied them to Ranga with sticky thread. After all, in a world with no motorcycles, traveling at 80 kph would certainly be a terrifying experience. I don't know if it's possible to run that fast, and I don't have any intention to be going that fast. Next, it's my turn. Mimicry, Black Storm Star Wolf, Tempest Start Wolf. As the mimicry finished, I transformed. Amazing. As expected of Master. Fuhahawa. Even so. Work hard to evolve into this form. I responded to Ranga with praise. I will strive to live up to your expectations with a new goal in mind. Ranga's eyes were shining bright. The other storm-fanged wolves were all just as excited. Everyone being motivated is surely a good thing. Then, I glance over to Kajin's group. There's foam coming out of their mouth. They fainted? That old man, what the hell they doing? Oh well. Time to put my daily practice to use. I use sticky thread on my back. I slowly manipulate the thread to tie up Kajin's group, and success. This way, we can continue carrying Kajin's group even while they're fainted. Thus, we depart. As a side note, I think it's a good thing that Kajin's group had fainted. If we don't take this slowly, at a speed of 100 kph, they could faint from the initial acceleration. The 2 siblings on Ranga's back, Mildo and Dold, however, seem to endure well. Never mind. That's the rumored fainting with your eyes open skill, huh? I offer my condolences. The return journey was going smoothly, primarily because the dwarves had fainted. It's probably better for them to faint instead of biting their tongues. In fact, imagine yourself in their position. Wouldn't it be unpleasant to wake up to another terrifying experience? Instead, isn't it best to let them sleep with those happy faces? Well, I'll wake them up for meals. I know, I'm a bad person, lol. Come to think of it, Raguru. Have you succeeded at summoning your black wolf yet? Although it brings me great shame, there has been no progress, Fumu. Even Raguru can't do it. The other goblins are also frustrated. The wolves, as well. So, only Gabuta? So only that Gabuta succeeded? What? Gabuta, is that true? Yes. I called and he came. Hearing those words, the other goblins and black wolves' eyes lit up in determination. But that can't be. Gabuta is the kind of guy to walk to and from the Dwarf Kingdom on foot. Come to think of it, he's right. You'd think he's just a fool. But I guess he's the type of guy that can do it when it matters. Well, Gabuta is a fool, but that certainly doesn't mean he's incompetent. Come to think of it, he made a 4-month journey on foot alone while scavenging for food. If he were weak, I doubt he could have done it. Thus, my mental evaluation of debut arose. Well, sooner or later it will drop. When the night comes, we take a break. I'm not tired at all, but the others need a break. While everyone rests, I'll try out some abilities. The physical abilities of the Black Storm Star Wolf, Tempest Star Wolf, are really high. I could feel the power gushing out. When I kick the ground lightly, I instantly leap into the air and gallop through the air. Combined with my reaction speed, I can probably bring out its full potential. To begin with, most of my battles to date ended with water blade, and the enemy were decapitated. Since strength and agility are important factors in a fight, this is a pretty good development. Enough to say that I am satisfied the Tempest Star Wolf's combat ability. From what I imitated with Great Sage, while mimicking the Black Wolf, I can instantly kill the Black Snake. Without any special abilities. I received an explanation on ranks in the town. The lizard was a rank B. Via the simulation ability of the Great Sage, one could approximate the rank of other monsters. The Black Snake would never reach A rank, but, being able to defeat 10 centipedes, one could rank it as A. Similarly, a normal, not mimicked, Black Storm Star Wolf is stronger than a Black Snake, but a fight against 10 of them would be impossible. No, wait, there's that ominous Black Lightning skill, my instincts scream that it's dangerous. And yet, I return to being a slime and try it out. The result, Pikatsu, Chudo, and Fufufu. My test target, a big boulder on the riverside, crumbled to dust. Thus, I judged that I should absolutely never use this skill again. So, I didn't do anything. A lightning just hit there for no reason. Let's go with that. There was another such skill, the Black Snake Noxious Breath. I shall also seal it. At least, until I can properly adjust the output. Especially since it uses a lot of magic power. And, if not adjusted carefully, there's a high chance of hitting friendly. That is, more than its power, the range was also phenomenal. Surrounding the boulder, an area of about 20 meters, 65 feet, was turned into glass by the temperature. Riguru and others rushed over asking if anything was wrong. Whoa, a lightning hits right in front of me. How surprising. Is how I deceived them. Seems like the lightning disturbed their rest, making me feel guilty. From now on, any dangerous experiments must be carried out in some secret location. Oh well, I got the data. The simulation in my brain resumed. With Black Lightning, even if it is not my version of it, the Black Wolf can probably win against 10 Black Snakes. Thus, it may actually be the case that the Black Storm Star Wolf, Tempest Star Wolf, holds power beyond that of an A rank. A rank monsters, by themselves, can devastate a small city and are thus a pointed disaster level. Therefore, I should refrain from mimicking the Black Wolf near a city. And thus, my research continues till dawn, the next morning. The dwarves wake up with their faces still pale. Are they okay? Are you guys okay? Where are we? Has their consciousness become clearer? They were puzzled due to the unfamiliar scenery around them. I immediately tell them that we were traveling towards the Goblin Village. What did you say? For a 2-month journey like this, we need to procure a carriage and food from some nearby town. Well, it's far too late to be surprised what to say, let's ignore it. Well, think about it. It's hard for a normal person to understand the distance we had already traveled. We aren't in a rush. So, I take the time to explain our situation to the dwarves. As for Riguru and group, they are making food. Goblins cook in one way, they roast. That's fine for now. I have no taste buds after all. However, when I do obtain them, I should beat good cooking techniques into them. Can the goblins get used to cultured life? Whether it will happen or not, I do not know. But I plan to try out various ideas. It'd be bad if they can't properly cook. While eating breakfast, we discussed future plans. I explained to them that we were bound to arrive at the village in 2 days. In posse. The dwarfs was not convinced thus, we resumed our journey. Along the way, we conversed using thought transmission. The dwarfs can also use it, which saves us some trouble. Thought transmission is an improvement over basic telepathy, as it is stronger, allows a larger network, can be used during other maneuvers, and has range of about 1 kilometer. On the second sprint, the dwarfs cling to our backs without fainting. Seems like they properly prepared themselves beforehand. Since the wind pressure forced them to keep their eyes closed, I made a thin membrane with my thread to protect their eyes. Surprisingly, it works. I can finally manipulate it to some extent with just thought. This much is possible when you get used to manipulating magic essence. While moving on the road, I asked the dwarfs to teach us about some common knowledge. While the dwarf talking, the goblins excitedly listens. Then, we adding our common knowledge from what we hear, then the conversation turns lively. I feel relieved because they become more familiar with each other. In this state, they will get along just fine in the village. The dwarf or the goblin, the origin is same. The long-lived half-fairy dwarf. The short-lived half-demon goblin. The difference was only in the course of evolution. But the goblins rather said it evolution, would it be degenerate? In other words, the goblin can be said to be the monster version of the dwarf. The goblin can evolve to hobgoblin, but after evolution, it seems it extend the lifespan. Well, it not just that, but that was one of the differences between demon race and fairy race. Even in the same half-fairy races, dwarfs are closer to the demons rather than the elves. Maybe that's the reason they able become accustomed without discomfort with others once they gets used to it. Having suddenly remembered something, I decided to ask Cajun. I know it's already too late to ask, but is it okay? To have said those things to the dwarf king, didn't you admire him? Oh, about that. I do admire him. There isn't a single dwarf who doesn't. Who wouldn't admire a hero king that looks like he had come out of some fairy tale? Certainly. Heroes from fairy tales come out only in bedtime stories. This hero, however, is alive and well, supporting and protecting his people as their king. Thus, it is exactly as he said, everyone respects and admires him, and everyone would surely want to be useful to such a king. Do I have the resolution to do the same? I became the goblin's master by pure chance. But how should I proceed from now on? It's fine. No doubt about it. That's the kind of myself that I wish to become. Hey, Cajun. Why have you decided to follow me? If you think about it, isn't it far better for you to return to the king's service? Upon hearing this question, this is how Cajun answered. Gahahaha. Dana, TL note, can mean master, but I left it in Ramaji, is surprisingly tactful. Why? Because it seemed interesting. That's what my instincts told me. This guy can do anything. And that was it. Don't you think it's a fine reason? A fine reason, huh? No doubt about it. Fumu, you better not complain later. I was famous for working my subordinates hard, you know. Anyways, when there's something I can't do, I want others to help me. I want to rely on others. But if you need my help, I'll see it through. Even if it was hard, this is what I truly desire inside. I know. I nodded with satisfaction at his response. 2 days later, we arrived at the village. Our objective was achieved, we returned to the village. Chapter 20, Toward the Village's Revival. We finally arrived at the Goblin Village. We left the village only 2 weeks ago, but I feel somewhat nostalgic. Well, rather than calling it a village, it was just a square surrounded by fences. While we were out on the journey, what's left was just some small tent for living. The center of the village is marked by the bonfire. I noticed a big pot placed there. Roasting. It was the only cooking method before. It seems they improved. What an impressive progress. That pot over there, if you look at it closely, from its appearance it was made from shell of okame, big turtle. How far did they expand their hunting range? Well, it seems they did not get attacked from other monsters. I feel relieved. Immediately after entering the village, the hobgoblin villagers noticed us. We were greeted by cheers. Unfortunately, I didn't bring any souvenirs. Oh well, it seemed there many fur, etc. from monsters they hunted. I'm sure the dwarves can turn them to clothes right away. Eventually, I want the goblins to be able to make it themselves. Now, to introduce the dwarves, I attempt to find Rigurudo so he can gather everyone. It seems it's not needed. Rigurudo came running. But he had a troubled face. What had happened? I tried to think the answer of my question. Welcome back. I'm sorry I didn't greet you earlier when you came back, but Rimuru-sama, there are guests. Even if he tired, he still feel obliged to greet me. I feel sorry. Guests? Someone I knew? Anyway, are the dwarves free in the village? I think they start inspecting around. The equipment I bought was stored in a vacant tent. I leave the care of the dwarves to Riguru. I was guided to the place where the guests were waiting. Rigurudo guided me into a large tent. Who is it? Well, when we meet, I will know. Thinking that, I enter the tent. I was surprised when I saw what was under the entrance of the tent. Over there are several goblin. Some were well dressed with several others that accompany them. Chiefs, and they escorts. Why they did carry any weapons. Even thought I don't see any problem. When I was perplexed, the goblins were all suddenly doggies, prostrate kneeling. We greet you, O strong one. Can you please hear our humble request? They speak all at once. Strong one? It exaggerated, but are they referring to me? I discerning them all, they're saying with serious tone and their eyes were all serious, I knew those eyes. What are they expecting from me? I thought so. Fumu, I decided to hear their story. Then, we are really grateful. Our request is, we want to ask you, so we can serve under you. One of them answered as the representative. The other all nodded in agreement. They asked with hope-filled eyes. Please take care of us. They deeply beg. Honestly, I thought it was troublesome right now, it's time for the village revival. I don't have time to spare for you guys. Although I want to say the otherwise, the fact is the people on this village just a few. Anyway, I predicted there will be turf wars going around here. I think it's okay to accept them in, right now it's okay, but what if they'll betray us later? Although I'm a bit worried about it, if that happen I will exterminate all of them. I do not forgive betrayal. To lead monsters, wishful thinking will only get in the way. Everything must be dealt cold-headed. I order to determine my resolution is to accept those guys. I assured myself again. Once these guys betray me, I will kill these guys. But, now that I think about it, how can I easily think of killing someone? I'm surprised by myself. Oh well, it better to worry about it later. By the way, it seems those guys are only our representatives. How many people do they have? To think about it, I must come up with names to give to all these guys all by myself. I let out a sigh. Each one of the goblins went back to their own village to bring home the news. Well then, I hear the story from the remaining delegates. Listening to the story, I summarize the contents. First, the cause that began to disturb the order in the forest. During the raid of Fanged Wolf Clan, the village of Rigurudo and others was abandoned. The cause was they could not afford to offer any warriors. The orc race, the lizardman race, and ogre race. It was some of the monsters with intelligence in this forest. They began to move in order to dominate the forest. Even until now, they had skirmish, but they are in tacit agreement, so it did not lead into armed clash. However, that is in response to the situation where the Lord of the Forest is gone. So far it seems the move to clear away their old resentment. Originally, monster had a nature that likes to show off their power. Therefore, to clear away the accumulated resentment, each race prepared to move out. The goblin race is just a weak race, their presence is only for being trampled by them. Each chief, goblin, was in panic. In this state, they will be ruined by involved in the fight. During the chief meeting, they carried out discussions every day, but they aren't very intellect. The discussion ended without resulting with any solution. Meanwhile, the news of the attack from Fanged Wolf Clan was received, well, not far from it. Therefore, Rigurudo's village was forgotten. However, around the time the food stocks become scarce, there came a bad news. It was reported that a new threat in the forest has appeared. The rumor was about the black beasts and their riders. Those riders are running within the forest just like it was in plains. They hunted powerful monsters in the forest. When they received the report, they all were astonished. Who are those riders? Apparently, that's what it looked like for those goblins. In response of this report, opinion was divided. The first opinion claims that any day now, those riders will take them under their protection. The second opinion claims that it's too suspicious. It must be some kind of trap. The ones who said it's a trap, there is no reason to bring us into a trap. They didn't listen when being persuaded. In addition, even if it's not a trap, it isn't necessary for us to accept. Without intellect, only sadness, the words for conclusion can't come out. Therefore, they select a person as representative to ask for asylum. They told me that was the reason why they went to this place. I understand. Well, it was a good story from a small fries bug. However, even if the goblins are small, weak and lack intellect, there will be no one willing to help them. Either way, I decided to accept their request. But only those willing to come here. I told this to the representative of the goblins. Hearing my word, those goblins went back to their own villages. For now on there is a problem. I think that, after looking at the goblins that came here, isn't that a little too much? In the village's space, there are only a few accommodations. or rather, why I must be worried for such a thing. For a few days, several axes were created. The newly created axes were used to cut trees, the collected timber was going to be processed and would be used later to build housing. I leave the charge of the timber-related things to Cajun. The three dwarf brothers diligently processed the fur to make clothes for Hobgoblin. The three dwarf brothers as usual looked at the women, Goburina, with sharp eye. It might be good if they finish it quickly. At the time I told them to hurry their works, goblins came. From the 4 clans, collectively there is about 500 people. The rest of it, the opposing faction stayed at the villages. They choose to stay. But right now the works is still not done. That's what I thought. I then check mind map. I'm looking for suitable location near water source so I can open farmland. I walk to the nearest place that meets my condition. The place is in the vicinity of the cave from beginning. Fumu. I called Rigurudo, asking about the situation around that area. Around there was non-aggression territory. Because unlike in the forest, inside the cave, there is a nest of powerful monsters, there will be no problem. I used to live over there. Wah. Is that true? No, I was born over there so it okay, there will be no problem at all. As I expected, Dagazamasuna. This Rigurudo, truly admire you, is it really great? I was just born in that cave, why does he have to be impressed with that? Well, as long as he's satisfied. Immediately, I went to talk with the youngest brother from the 3 brothers, Mildo, who had architectural related knowledge. I and Mildo are consulting about various things. I told Mildo any knowledge I had related for various constructions from my previous life that I could remember. The current technology in this world, it measured it is on decent level with magic intertwined together. In addition of my knowledge I plan to measure and survey the local area. I want to make some of kind treatment facilities for excrement which was necessary for goblins and dwarves. But it's not necessary for the black wolves. Anyway, you can make an underground sewer or fermenting the excrement. I thought it good as fertilizer. But when seen from sanitation side, it was common sense that it would easy for it to become the source of infection for infectious disease. That was what Mildo said to me. Well, can monster like goblins become sick? It's what I thought, but it seems it normal for getting epidemic. It's fate of weak monsters. Well, if it's because poor sanitation, they would surely become sick. In case of the goblins, the number of birth exceed the number that die because the strong fertility, it seems it possible to maintain the numbers. But, by evolving, it seems the fertility had depleted. In exchange for that, it seems the lifespan extended. Mildo was well informed. Though he didn't know much in topics related to processing the excrement. I confirmed that there was only a few world travelers in this world. In this world, had its own unique knowledge about spirit engineering. I heard it's mysterious and there weren't many explanations about it. Because there weren't many details known regarding the benefit of the excrement, he was surprised when listening to my story. Thus, the conclusion of the meeting, Mildo was appointed as the captain of the construction team. I let him take care of things that were his specialty. To Rigurudo, I instructed him to assign some people under Mildo to go survey the project site. Ranga also accompanied them just in case. I think the monsters from the cave will not go out, but there is a possibility. If that happen, I'm sure Ranga can take care of it. Thus, Mildo and others, the construction team departed. The next was naming. The though is too depressing. To give name one by one for all 500 people. Any longer, I think it would turn to the forbidden ABCD. But I don't like to do something half-hearted. Immediately, I started giving them names. Again, I went to low activity state after giving them all names, but I was able to give name to everyone. The fatigue was less than the previous naming. It is something that you do not want to do again. I summoned the chieftains. They all kneeling in front of me were the evolved chieftains led by Rigurudo, 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 Rigurudo. Obvious, side by side. It's Ra Rai Ro. Coincidentally, Ra became Ranga. I think it all appropriate, so it's okay. There is no one that object. I thought it in frantic. I forget about the name's appeal. I will work very hard. It was one of a good man appeal. The one that are left over was a female. It's possible to determine the gender of goblins, but it hardly shows in the appearance. But when they evolve, the differences is recognizable. I thought some feminine name, like Rarina. In the future, I wonder if this name can become series or not. Although such idea crossed in my mind, I decided to against such thought. It's not needed right now. Well, in front of me the hobgoblins. I wonder if they capable with hierarchical relationship or not. Everyone is friends, everyone is equal. Those things were impossible in real life. In particular, for monsters that emphasizes on power, a clear chain of command was necessary. I decided. Listen, I bestow to you guys this positions. It was declared. Rigurudo was promoted to Goblin King. And the remaining chieftains become Goblin Lord. In the surroundings, all of the goblins in the village prostrate themselves. I gulped my own saliva when watching such spectacle. Wahaa. We humbly receive your order. With that word as the signal, thunderous cheer rose up. A new history for Goblin has begun. For crafting tools, Cajun had prepared it. For clothes, under the command of Garmendold, had been produced steadily. For timber, it steadily provides the village with vacant land. By the time it was confirmed that all of the goblins had evolved, the planned construction for the new village began after Mildo came back after the survey. All were well. I checked the construction area for the new village. From its scale, it should be called town rather than a village. Our new home. After confirming all the preparations and equipment, we all departed. Towards the new place, step forward. For our first step to create a new country.